The theme park wars are heating up around the world, and Disney and Universal are at the forefront of that battle. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about what's next for Disney. I'm going to give you an update on Epic Universe, and I'm going to talk about how Universal might steal the crown away from the Walt Disney Company. So how about you and I dive right in? Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Theme Park Obsession video. My name is Dylan, and thank you so much for tuning back into the channel. As you can see, I'm back in the park for another walk and talk video. Before we get started, if you love theme parks, consider subscribing because I have brand new videos every single week from some of your favorites. I do a lot of walking and talking videos like this as well. And then also, if you like this video, be sure to smash the thumbs up button by the end of it. What a great time to be alive and be a theme park fan, because all around the world, theme parks are adding more rides than ever, more immersive experiences, and just new things to do. Driving the gate and driving myself and so many others to experience all these new and fantastic additions. I mean, heck, in the United States, we're seeing so much growth, and there's so many exciting new additions coming to all the parks in North America. But as these theme park wars continue to heat up and consumers just reap from the benefits, there are two gentlemen that sit at the very top of the food chain, and those two gentlemen are Bob Iger and Brian Roberts. Bob Iger is the CEO of the Walt Disney Company at the time of recording this, and Brian Roberts is the CEO of Comcast at the time of recording this. And both companies respectively have brought us some of the most amazing immersive attractions that we've seen in years, pushing the envelope even further. And what also comes with immersive attractions? Well, huge profits. Both the Walt Disney Company and Comcast have totally benefited off of what they've been investing in the parks, and the parks have been serving up to be very profitable for their companies respectively.
And we hit a number of new records this past quarter. It was the highest fourth quarter EBITDA for the entire segment, led by Orlando and Hollywood, and Japan had the best EBITDA performance since 2019. This was driven by attendance that far surpassed pre-pandemic levels at all three parks.
Turning to parks, experiences, and products, we're thrilled with the results we achieved this quarter, with operating income increasing 25% versus the prior year to over $3 billion, reflecting increases at our domestic and international parks and experiences businesses. Quarter to date, park attendance at both Walt Disney World and Disneyland Resort are pacing above prior year. And based on reservation bookings, we expect to see this trend continue.
Brian Roberts and Bob Iger both know this, and that's why they continue to invest as much as they can into the parks, because they know they'll receive that return of investment very quickly. It becomes a beautiful never-ending circle, because if you provide a good guest experience from top to bottom, the guests want to come back all the time. They might buy annual passes, they might do a yearly family vacation, and that's what the parks want, and that's what these two companies are fighting for. They want people to stay on their property and their property only. They don't want people going over to the other competitor. Disney doesn't want people going over to Universal, and Universal doesn't want people going over to Disney. And as of late, that back and forth competition is so great for us, the consumer, because it only provides us with better experiences over time. Let's start with Universal, because Universal has been very aggressive these past few years, and it all kind of started with the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Orlando. When that opened up, that was kind of when everyone looked and was like, Universal is capable of doing the same exact thing that Disney's able to do. And that's when we all knew, that's when the entire industry knew that things were slowly going to change. Brian Roberts, the current CEO of Comcast, has said time and time again that they are very bullish when it comes to their theme parks. They want to invest as much as they can into providing those great guest experiences because, like I was saying, they don't want people going to Disney. They want people staying at Universal. They want people spending the money there and there only. And Brian Roberts has been very clear that they are going to do whatever they can to make sure that happens. And when you just talk about Orlando alone, we've had Volcano Bay, we've had Velocicoaster, we've had Hagrid's, they're building a new Minions attraction, they are working on the new Kid Zone area, and they're building an all-new theme park. And this has just happened over the course of less than 10 years. Universal has gone from like the underdog in the community to now being like the top dog. So a lot of people are choosing Universal over Disney lately, or what's also happening is that people are spending less time at Disney. So they'll spend most of their time at Universal Orlando, and then they'll spend just a couple days at Disney. The tables have been turning for a lot of families. And that's exactly what Brian Roberts wants. They want people to stay there. And that's why we're seeing an aggressive push with hotels. We're seeing a bunch of new hotels pop up. They built Cabana Bay, they built Aventura, they built Dockside and Surfside. And now, under construction right now, as I'm recording this video, they're building another 3 hotels at the Epic Universe site that we can see from aerial photos. And on top of that, Universal is incentivizing families by making some of those resort hotels more affordable than Disney. So it really is dangerous territory for Disney, because there's really nothing they could do unless they want to lower the price of some of the resort hotels or some of their value resorts, because if they don't, then people are going to continue to stay at Universal. We're also seeing Universal evolve their attraction lineup. They're not heavily relying on screen-based technology to build an attraction. They're doing a lot more practical stuff lately. We've seen it with Secret Life of Pets and, of course, the Mario Kart attraction. Now, the Mario Kart attraction uses augmented reality, but it's in a space of practicality, which is very nice. And Universal's also not afraid to give us thrilling attractions like Velocicoaster and Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure. Those 2 attractions alone have probably drawn so much gate to Islands of Adventure. And me personally, like every time I go to Islands of Adventure, like Velocicoaster and Hagrid's are the first 2 attractions that I want to do. Universal is learning and listening to their guests, and that's a good thing, because if you give the guests what they want, they will always come back and spend money. And if you exceed the guests' expectations even more, then that's a really good thing. And for a good guest experience, Universal knows that it doesn't just stay at the top, it trickles all the way down to the bottom. Universal is a pretty good threat to Disney because they're capable of producing attractions just like Disney is. They have the money to do so. They provide a good hotel experience because they provide affordable options for people. They don't have reservations for their theme parks, so it's a little bit easier to get in and out of their properties. And the overall experience from top to bottom seems to be a little bit less stressful at Universal. And that's where I think they are slightly winning in this battle, because when you go to Universal, there's not a lot to think about other than just having fun. That's the goal. They want you to have fun and not worry or be reliant on little things that could possibly ruin your day. And on top of all of that, another thing to make a good guest experience is making sure that your team members are providing that for you. And Universal, as of late, has been doing what they can to make their team members happy, and one of them being raising their base pay to $17 an hour. That pay increase makes a big difference, especially when you're talking about paying your rent, putting food on the table, and trying to take care of your kids. And if Universal can just make a few extra team members that much more happy with that pay increase, then that will trickle into the guest experience, and that will mean a returning visit for that family or for that one person that's an annual pass holder. It makes a huge difference. And so Universal is thinking top to bottom, not just on building really immersive, thrilling attractions, but they're also thinking about, okay, how can we take care of our team members? And yeah, do I wish that they would get a little bit more than $17 an hour? Of course. I think a lot of these businesses should be paying people at least $20 an hour, but that's a different video for a different conversation. I am just happy in general that Universal has increased the base rate to $17 an hour, because yeah, again, Disney hasn't budged at all. And now finally that leads us to Epic Universe, and Epic Universe is shaping up to be, well, epic. It is Universal's largest park in North America, and that alone should excite any theme park enthusiast. And thanks to BioReconstruct on Twitter, we are getting some amazing aerial images of the park's construction. At the park's entrance, you can see crews have been working on the 2 buildings that will eventually be connected by a massive colonnade that's very reminiscent of the archway we see at Universal Studios Florida. And judging from the concept art, the courtyard statement looking towards that archway is going to be a pretty profound one at that. Near the front of the park's entrance corridor, work on this particular building is moving along very nicely, and it's rumored to be a restaurant location that's going to be sitting along the edge of a beautiful waterscape, just judging from the concept art. And what's great is, as a fan of water features, I'm really excited for the park's central lagoon and of course just hardscape and just water elements in general. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. And I think by the end of the summer, we're going to see a lot of that take shape. Now, since we're in the park's central hub, here's a look at the flat ride that's being constructed, and it's serving to be a very complex one at that, because crews have been working on the foundation for this for a very long time. And in concept, this attraction might be either a carousel or some other type of flat ride that interacts with the water, just because it's pretty much centered right in that lagoon right there. I've heard rumors that it might be a version of a mock Twist and Splash. We've seen a couple of these attractions be built over time, and the construction looks very similar to that. And those attractions are pretty cool. It's like a spinning turntable type flat ride, but the water kind of sits on the turntable. It's really beautiful. So if they were to put something like that underneath this what looks to be beautiful stained glass canopy, I think that would be a very complimentary ride to the surrounding area. And speaking of that beautiful stained glass canopy, you can see that the footings are around the base of the attraction, ready to go for those support columns that will eventually hold up that beautiful canopy. The park's main thrill coaster is looking very nice as it's moving along quickly, with new track being installed this past week. And this will be 2 separate coasters, by the way. They'll be dueling alongside each other, so that's a nice little nod to the former Dueling Dragons attraction at Islands of Adventure. But this coaster is looking really amazing, and they've just installed that top hat element, which is just right out of the gate, which is very exciting. And the first 2 inversions have been installed as well, and it looks like crews are getting ready to install the few bunny hop hills that lead to the coaster's turnaround in the front. The park is looking to have 4 themed lands, and this one's rumored to be themed around How to Train Your Dragon, and it's looking to be the park's largest land. You could see the coaster track has been installed for what looks to be a nice little family coaster, and detail work around the land's central lagoon is slowly starting to appear, including these 2 massive statues that give us a good hint that this is it could possibly be a How to Train Your Dragon land. And the land's theater is looking great too, as crews are slowly starting to enclose that structure. I'm really looking forward to that, and rumors point to that show in there being very similar to the one that we see in China. The rumored Wizarding World land at the park is looking fantastic, as you can gather just by these aerial images that the scale of this thing is beyond impressive. It's really cool, and if you look very closely, you can see like little tiny people at the bottoms of these buildings. But the spider web of steel around the land is coming together really nicely, and details on the building facades are starting to show. And out of all the lands, I think this one might give us that big wow factor when we walk through that entrance portal into the main part of the land. It's very reminiscent of Diagon Alley, where it's very tight city streets and soaring buildings that are adorning each side of the street. So I think this one's going to be very, very cool once it's done. The rumored Classic Monsters land is seeing some nice developments this past few days, specifically on the land's entrance portal. And each portal is going to be themed to each of the lands, and I think this one, out of all the portals, is probably going to be one of my favorites because it just looks to have the most detail. Obviously, things can change because we're still very early on in construction, but I'm thinking that I'm really going to love the rumored Classic Monsters portal because look at the work happening on this is pretty extravagant. There's also some really nice work happening on the land's main gift shops and dining locations, and that coaster that's in the land as well. The track work has been done with that, and it looks like crews are mainly just working on what looks to be like a show element in the middle of the attraction. And last but not least, the confirmed Super Nintendo World at the park has been fully enclosed, and concrete work on the secondary level continues. All this construction is going to be very similar to what I covered at Universal Studios Hollywood. It's going to be very similar construction. The only difference here at Epic Universe is the scale. We're getting the full version of Super Nintendo World like we see at Universal Studios Japan. And then also the Donkey Kong area is looking very nicely as well. They're putting all of that moisture-resistant paneling up on the buildings, which will eventually lead to those prefabricated pieces over time, so that'll be really exciting. I think by the end of the summer, going into the fall, we're going to see a lot more detail start to appear at Super Nintendo World. And Universal also released a piece of concept art for what Donkey Kong's going to look like at Universal Studios Japan, opening up in 2024. So that gives us a really good hint as to what the Donkey Kong is going to be looking like at Epic Universe in Florida. Again, huge shout out to BioReconstruct on Twitter. Be sure to check out his account because he's got some amazing aerial images of Epic Universe, but not just Epic Universe. He takes photos from all over Orlando, so he's got some really beautiful ones of Walt Disney World as well. Epic Universe will be a defining moment in Comcast theme park sector, and I think Universal is throwing as much money as they can at this project, which is great because that means that this could be one of Universal's best theme parks. I mean, it could be one of the best looking theme parks that we've seen Universal create. It could have some of the most immersive lands that we've ever seen from Universal. This could be Tokyo Disney level here in America, which would be fantastic. There are some in the community that don't think Disney should be paying attention to this and they should wait till after Epic Universe is done, but I think otherwise. I think Disney should be very cautious with Epic Universe and what Universal is capable of, because Universal has just as many resources and just as much money, quite frankly, as the Walt Disney Company has. So they can do whatever they can to make sure that Epic Universe is one of the best theme parks in the world. And Disney should be worried about that if they want to try to continue to capture the audience experience away from Universal. They got to be paying attention, and I think that's what we're slowly starting to see, because in the past couple days we've seen some shakeups, especially in Imagineering. Now that brings us to the Walt Disney Company, and with Iger now in charge and Chapek gone, things are changing very rapidly. We've seen executive shakeups, and we're now seeing some Imagineering shakeups as well, because just recently, just the other day actually, Bruce Vaughn has returned to Walt Disney Imagineering, which is a very, very good thing. And if you don't know who Bruce Vaughn is an Imagineer that worked on some pretty notable projects like Pandora with Joe Rohde. He worked on DCA's renovation, the DCA 2.0 project. He worked on Hong Kong Disneyland's renovation with Mystic Manor and Grizzly Gulch, and he has worked on a bunch of other beautiful and original projects. Bringing in Bruce Vaughn as a chief creative officer is just such a good thing, because it just means that Disney is willing to do what they can to shake up things in the executive chain to make sure that they are providing the best that they can do. And if they got to bring in some old school talent with some new school ideas, well, then that's what they got to do, because they have to stay competitive, especially when, like we were just talking about, when Universal is stepping up their game beyond belief. And when you team up old school Imagineers with Bob Iger's ambition, you get a good product at the end of the pipeline. Bob Iger is very ambitious, and he said this before. When they announced Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, he told the Imagineers, you got to be ambitious. This thing needs to be big. He said that with Pandora at Animal Kingdom and all of the other projects that have happened over the course of a few years at the Walt Disney Company. And the same is said today as well. They're building a version of Pandora at Disneyland, and I'm sure Bob Iger has told the team at Imagineering, hey, you need to be ambitious, because we have a competitor that's not too far from us that is capable of doing anything that we're able to do. I think with this new leadership and new Imagineering shakeup, we're going to be seeing some very cool things come out of the Walt Disney Company, which is a great thing, because under Bob Chapek's watch, I don't think we were going to see anything, quite frankly. If Chapek was still in the picture, I don't think we would be seeing anything ambitious at all. But that leads us to Walt Disney World, because a lot of questions are being asked. So what's Disney's next move in Florida? Because you have Epic Universe, you have the threat of Universal. What's going to be next? Well, we got a little hint of that at the D23 Expo when Josh D'Amaro talked about possible expansions for Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom. And they also talked about the ongoing projects that they're still working on at Epcot. But I think now with this new leadership and this new direction, I think Bob Iger has told the team, and including Josh D'Amaro, hey, we got to give these people something that just blows their socks off. So let's continue to be aggressive. Let's continue to be competitive. Let's finish the projects that we currently are working on right now, and let's just move forward. I think it's safe to say that we're going to see an expansion at Animal Kingdom in the old Dino Land USA area. I hope it's not Zootopia. I hope those plans just get shelved, because I don't think Zootopia fits with the Animal Kingdom core. Animal Kingdom is not about people problems, it's about animal problems. So I hope that they kind of go back to that. And with Bruce Vaughn being back in the picture, he worked with Joe Rohde very closely on Pandora, so I think Bruce knows Animal Kingdom's core very well. So I'm hoping that they kind of iron out the wrinkles of what Imagineering was wanting to do to Animal Kingdom. I'm okay with Moana. Moana at least leans a little bit more into conservation and that kind of world that Animal Kingdom is all about, the intrinsic value of nature. But like I said, I'm very confident that Animal Kingdom is going to be receiving some sort of expansion here in the next few years. And we might even hear an announcement here very, very soon. Disney's got an earnings call coming up here in the next few weeks, so I wouldn't be surprised if they talk about, obviously, the expansion plans at Disneyland, but also talk about the expansion plans for Animal Kingdom or Magic Kingdom, because that's another thing that was teased at D23. They were also thinking about doing Coco and Encanto, and then maybe some sort of Villains Land, which the Villains Land, I think that would be a good kicker to Universal. If they are doing a classic Universal Monsters Land at the Epic Universe Park, because that's what's rumored to be going over there, and Disney combats them with their Villains Land at Magic Kingdom, that would be a good direct answer, a good direct hit to Universal. And personally, Disney, if you're watching, build the villain's land. That's what we've been wanting for years. A lot of people talk about a fifth gate at Walt Disney World, and I think the opposite. I don't think Disney should be building a fifth gate right now, because I don't think that they're done with their current parks. There's still a lot of room and a lot of work to do what they already have, especially their 2 water parks. Their water parks have seemed to be neglected for years. So if they can make little investments into their water parks and maybe some big capital expenditures in all 4 of their theme parks, then I think that would be a good response to Universal. They definitely can't open anything up in time for 2025. I'm thinking they might delay Tiana's Bayou Adventure to 2025 just to have something for Epic Universe. But with that said, I don't think Disney has any plans to try to open anything up in 2025 as a direct competition towards Epic Universe and Universal. I think what they're looking at right now is, okay, what are we going to build after Epic Universe opens? So we're looking at 2027, 28, and 29. And I think if they were able to do the Magic Kingdom expansion, a little attraction for Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom expansion, and to finish the Epcot project, I think if they were able to do all 4 of those things, then that would be a very good response to Universal. Overall, Disney has to do something, because if they don't announce something very ambitious, which I don't think they wouldn't announce something ambitious. Again, Bob Iger is very keen to that. Bob Iger wants, again, his legacy to be known, because he came back to save the company. They're not just going to go do these little tiny projects. He wants to be known as someone who came back in and was very aggressive. Overall, with Iger in charge, Disney will throw some punches back to Universal. It's going to happen, and it's either going to happen here in the next few months, or we're going to see it at Destination D23, or we're going to see it at a D23 event. We're going to see some punches be thrown. And again, that's a great thing, because us as the consumer only benefits from all of this. Disney's been going through it, and we all know that. And I think Bob Iger knows that as well. And CEO of Comcast, Brian Roberts, knows that as well, and that's why they're capitalizing on it. They see Disney's on one knee right now, and they're like, no, let's keep pushing them. So with Iger in charge at the Walt Disney Company, I think Disney's going to eventually get back up on 2 feet. They're going to learn from their mistakes, especially from what happened during Chapek's era, and they're going to continue to be aggressive, especially in their theme park space, because their theme park space brings them at least 30 or 40% of the company's revenue. If Disney can give the consumer what they want and exceed the consumer expectations, people will continue to go to Walt Disney World. But if they don't, and they rest on their laurels, what's going to happen is people will then flock to Universal Studios, because Universal Studios is giving them something new and is giving them a less stressful experience. I think something very exciting is going to happen with Disney. I think we're going to hear some very exciting announcements very, very soon when it comes to Walt Disney World and, of course, the Disneyland Resort. But mainly for Walt Disney World, I think we're going to be hearing a lot of good things. I think they're going to hurry up and finish the Epcot project, because that project has been just going on and dragging on forever. And I think we're going to see some really cool things for Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom. Hollywood Studios, we might get a few little incremental updates here and there, but the big money is at Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom. And I think Bob Iger is ready to pull the trigger on those projects. He's told Josh tomorrow, hey, we gotta really ramp this thing up. So I think it's gonna be really fun as a theme park enthusiast here in the next few months. Who do you think will steal the theme park crown? Will it be Universal or Disney? Go ahead and comment down below. The theme park wars are heating up, and it is a great time to be alive and be a theme park enthusiast. There's so much happening, not just with Disney and Universal, but around the world, and I'm so happy that I get to cover all of it, and I can't wait for what the future holds with Universal and the Walt Disney Company, because I think both are going to offer some very exciting things down the line. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and smash the thumbs up button. And if you're new to the channel and you love these videos and more, consider subscribing, because I have brand new videos every single week. I have an Instagram account. Be sure to check that out by following the link down below. I post there all the time. It's a lot of like breaking news stuff, or just like Instagram reels and a bunch of cool little photos and whatnot. So be sure to follow that if you're not already checking that out. And until the next video, I hope you have a beautiful day, morning, evening, whatever it is, and I'll see you next time in the parks. Bye.